Hello everybody, welcome to GIS-110, Introduction to Geographic Database Technology, Spring Semester 2012. My name is Mark Young, and I'll be your instructor for our class this semester. Just wanted to say first of all that I'm really looking forward to working with everybody. Looks like we've got a very exciting group. We've got about 19 students, I think, and so we've got probably by double the largest online class we've had since we've been doing the online classes now for several years. So it should be an interesting semester. It looks like we've got a lot of diversity in our group. I'm enjoying reading through everybody's introductions, and if you haven't posted your introduction yet, I encourage you to do so and to read through those introductions of your fellow classmates. So we can kind of get to know each other. The online format is different for many of us. I've been working with it now since we started this for our GIS program. The online portion just started, I guess, about 3 or 4 semesters ago. So it's still relatively new to me as well. I miss the face-to-face contact, and as I would imagine many of you do as well. But these online classes offer a nice alternative for people that have to work during the day and evenings and can't get to or otherwise get to classes in the evenings. So this format is a good compromise, and hopefully I can make it and keep it interesting enough for you that it will make up for some of the online, the face-to-face classes that we would be used to taking. So let me just jump in by telling you a little bit about myself, since I've asked you guys to do the same. I've been teaching at Roane State on a part-time basis now for about 9 years. Seems like it was just yesterday when I was just starting. It's really flying by. The technology has changed tremendously during that period. It's in a constant state of change, it seems like. So if you feel like you're a little bit like a fish out of water at times with this class, just hang in there. You're probably not the only one. Like I say, this is a lot of the information is new for everybody, and I guess that's why we're all taking these classes. So I guess I could say GIS has been a part in some way of my career in one fashion or another now for well over 20 years. Natural resource management and planning has been a major focus of my career during that time, and I've used GIS to supplement within that career field. I guess lately, though, I should say my focus has shifted to more of information systems, developing management information systems and things like that. Continuing to use GIS, though. And enjoying it very much. Like you, I'm also, in addition to working full-time, I'm taking classes as well, working on another degree. I work full-time with the University of Tennessee and have been there now for nearly 20 years. I'm 49 years old, married, have 2 children. I have a daughter that's 11 and a son that just turned 8. My wife is from Peru, so she has had a big influence on me, trying to learn some Spanish, and which I'm still very much a novice. The kids seem to pick it up better than I do, and I've been able to go to Peru a few times and got to visit Machu Picchu a couple times now. Which was a very fascinating place. I highly recommend it if you've never been there. I love to travel, especially in the western U.S. Haven't been out of the country much other than the trip to Peru, but I have been out west a lot, and I really enjoy it. I'm an outdoors person. Seems like I don't get out nearly as much as I'd like, but at least once or twice a year I try to take a trip out west somewhere. A lot of times just a camping, hiking, backpacking kind of trip. Lot of the years I've gone by myself on solo trips. Lately, getting to do more family trips. Last year, the family and I got to go on a road trip for about 2 weeks, and we visited a lot of the parks. The kids got their junior ranger badges. It was a great time. Traveled, made a big loop, probably about 6,000 miles, I guess. Drove up through the Badlands, Mount Rushmore, over to Yellowstone, down through the Tetons, down into Utah, and down into Red Rock Country, and down over to Grand Canyon, and then come back. So it was a nice trip. Enjoyed that a lot, and I try to do that at least for some camping trips, like I say, at least once or twice a year. That was a big trip, the first time we've done that, and I had a great time. Hope to do it again sometime. Because of my interest in the outdoors and a lot of the western parks and things, you'll probably see some of that bias in my teaching, in my classes. I like to use some practical, hands-on types of assignments, and I oftentimes, because the data is also readily available, I'll use places like our parks and forests and things like that in some of the assignments that you'll see. And even your major class project will likely get into some of that type of topics. So fits very well with database technology and GIS, and so I hope you enjoy that. I know a lot of people have mentioned to me that they enjoy the parks and the outdoors, so hopefully that will work well. Besides GIS, much of my educational and professional background is focused largely in the field of forestry, or natural resources management. I worked at the University of Tennessee Forest Experiment Station as a forest manager for about 12 years prior to my current position. I've also worked with the Tennessee Division of Forestry. I notice we have a few people from TDF in our class this semester, so that's interesting. I look forward to learning more about you and what you're doing and things. I've worked with the Tennessee State Parks. I've worked with the U.S. Forest Service and with the National Park Service. So worked with a lot of different public agencies. I also worked with what was called Bowater Paper Company or Hiwassee Land Company at that time for a little while when I was going to school years ago. So I had a lot of work with forest management related agencies. Did that, I guess, for probably the last 29 years or so now. My current position, I'm working more with as a full-time GIS coordinator and information systems with our experiment stations at the University of Tennessee. I got my master's degree in forestry from Virginia Tech. Got a bachelor's degree also in forestry from the University of Tennessee back in the late 80s. Like you, I've also was a part of Roane State's GIS program where I received my certificate in GIS in 1999. And now I'm currently working on a second master's degree at the University of Tennessee, this time in information science. So with that, just want to again say welcome. Looking forward to working with you. I encourage you to contact me anytime you have any questions. You can reach me by email. I've got my email address on the class syllabus and on the introduction sheet where I've summarized a lot of the material I've been talking to you about here. That's going to all be posted on our website. So I've got two email addresses there. One is our Momentum email. That's the one I encourage you to use if you can. If for some reason that email is down, or if it's after the class is over at a later date or something, and you need to reach me, you can reach me at just the regular roanstate.edu address. That's also on the syllabus. And my cell phone number, I'm giving you that just in case an emergency comes up. The area code's 865-599-2625. Again, if you can, I prefer email, but in an emergency, don't hesitate to call me. I work at UT, of course, during the day full time, so it might take me a little while to get back with you. I try to concentrate most of my Roane State classwork in the evenings, but I also check my email during the day, so if you try to reach me, there's a good chance I'll get it during the day and be able to get back with you sometime during the day. And if not, I'll try to call you that evening. If just let me know when you leave a message. If there's a certain time that need to not call you after a certain time, just let me know, and we'll go from there. Now I'd like to shift gears a little bit, go through this introduction PowerPoint. And by the way, this is kind of new, doing this with the audio and video. Those of you that had the classes last fall, normally I for I guess the entire program online now, I've taught all of the fall classes and most of the spring classes. But last fall I was off, didn't do any teaching, and so a lot of you had somebody else for the 101 class, which hopefully most of you have had. Though a number of you have not, I know. I noticed from looking at your introductions that a lot of you are just starting, and that's fine. But if I don't know what they covered with you in the 101 class, so you may see some material again that you had throughout this class. It just depends. I'm not sure. I'm sure what was covered. But what I like to do with my online classes is I'll usually build PowerPoints or take you to other information that's online where you can read, and I try to focus on some hands-on exercises as well as the exercises in the book. And then I use the audio and video primarily for some demonstrations on how to do certain things. Over the years, I've accumulated quite a few videos in that regard, and so you'll probably get tired of hearing my voice. I'm sorry about that, but I've had a lot of good feedback that it's really helped people to have some of the recordings available. And I guess one good thing about it is if you can stand me dragging on with my voice, you have something at your disposal, I guess, that you can watch over and over again to learn a certain skill. And that's why I like to try to do the videos. But I haven't really done a lot of the live videos like we're doing now. Most of my videos, again, have been sort of task-oriented how-tos, and I'll try to continue with some of those and definitely need to update some of those. We've got new software now. We're in GIS-110, and all of my videos in the past were built around GIS-9, which we used up until last fall. So this is a little bit new, and I may try this a little bit. If I get feedback from you that you like this, we'll try to do some occasional, I guess it's not really live videos, but at least it's pretty current, so I can try to do this just before we cover certain materials if it helps. So I'll go through this, and again, this PowerPoint is also on our syllabus, so you'll be able to look through that and print it out. And this is tentatively what I'm planning to cover in the class. All of this may change a little bit as we go through the semester, and once I get a feel for where you are in your knowledge right now and how much you got out of the 101 class and how many we have in our class that have never taken GIS classes. Ideally, this semester was set up to be a second level class for everybody, but in the real world it just doesn't work that way. We always seem to have people that start the classes sort of in midstream. And so I'll be honest, it's tough doing that, but I will try to work with you and make that transition as easy as possible. It really does help if you had the 101 class, but I realize that a lot of you just weren't able to take them last fall. And so what I'll try to do to make up for that is try to cover, again, like I mentioned, I'll try to cover some of the 101 material, and I've got videos and stuff. Even though it was in ArcGIS-9, the principles are still the same and the look is largely the same. So I believe you'll be able to use a lot of the videos that I have from the ArcGIS-9 in the ArcGIS-10 format. And so I think that will help you, and we'll try that, and there's a chance that most of you haven't seen those. Like I say, I'm not sure what they covered with you in the 101 in terms of the material. So with that said, let me go through this introductory and a little bit of the syllabus kind of material. If I can get my slide program to work here. Okay. There you have my email address again. Office hours, I don't really have any office hours on campus. Most of our GIS programs and courses in the past were taught out of the Oak Ridge campus when we did the in-person classes, and we still have one or two that we do in person, and that's where they're conducted. Pat Worth is the coordinator for the program, and if you need to get somebody in person, I really recommend trying to reach her. And she can much more easily meet with you in person and help you with things. Again, I can help you over the phone, and in an emergency, and if it's a case where I can get over there to meet you, I can try to meet with you in person. But it's a lot easier for me to do it over the phone, and rely on Pat to help us with some of the in-person stuff. She has also taught these classes for years, and so she knows the material as well. When you send email, it helps if in the subject line you can preface it with a GIS-110 and then a dash and then the subject line. That way it makes it easier on my end to be able to filter through the messages quickly and see which ones are related to the class versus other email. And it basically lets me get to your email quicker, because I can always give a priority to the student, so that lets me see your email right away. And if you're taking, like most of you are, more than one GIS class, it helps to filter those messages out a little bit too. The format of the class, of course, being online, and it's asynchronous, which means that you basically can go through the material at your own pace. There are deadlines, and these deadlines are pretty firm out of necessity to keep the class moving forward, but you have, during a given week, some flexibility during that week when it works for you to review the material. So I guess that's the advantage of the asynchronous, the online being an advantage, like we said earlier, because people can just take it, without having to come to class. But the asynchronous helping in that you can take it at your own pace without the face-to-face. Now, a lot of people miss that, though. The face-to-face is nice, and doing classes live, even if they're online, has a lot of advantages as well. But in our class, the way we work all of our GIS classes, basically, in the online format, is they are asynchronous. Spring break, in case I forget to mention this later, and some of this I apologize for jumping around, but I just want to catch it while I'm thinking about it. But spring break is from March 5th to March 11th, and there's no class that week. We won't have any material posted that week. Otherwise, we should have material every week right up till April 30th is a Monday, I believe, and that's the last day of class. And I'll probably be posting the presentations and stuff from your projects on that day. We do have one other holiday in addition to Martin Luther King Day. We have the Good Friday, which is a Friday. I don't have it in front of me, but it'll be in the catalog if you need to look it up. But there's a Friday in March or April that we don't have class. Our class website, and you'll hear me at various times refer to our website and Momentum site, and they're really one and the same. I do have some supplemental actual websites that I've used in the past for our class, and you may see those later on, so I'll try to refer to our Momentum. You'll hear me say Momentum website or class site, just in case we do get into some of those other sites. But for now, your main site is this one posted here at the https elearn.roanstate.edu. And there's a tutorial when you go to that class site that will show you some of the basics about using the Momentum software. So if you haven't seen that yet, I encourage you to look at that as soon as possible. I think that will help you. And in addition to that, here in a few minutes, I will go through sort of a quick tutorial of our own site. So that should help as well. New postings I'm going to try after our first week. It happened to be a holiday on a Monday, so we started off on a Tuesday, but typically our class postings will go up by 9 a.m. on Monday mornings from week to week, and typically your assignments will be due on the Sunday prior to that Monday. So you basically have all week to work on an assignment. Usually they're due by 6 p.m. on Sunday evening. That gives me a chance to get them all in and collected before we start the next week off. That sometimes that will change, and if it's not that date, I'll always try to make it clear to you in our weekly summary of activities, which I also will post. I'll try to make it clear when all the dates are, so it should be clear. But just typically, like I say, usually it's Sundays by 6. Those times are pretty fixed. There are occasions where we have to bend those a little bit to accommodate people, but I encourage you to stick to those times as much as possible, because it's a lot of work to adjust that, because it's an online format, and basically I have to go in and student by student customize those times if there are any changes that need to be made to accommodate emergencies and things like that. So if an emergency comes up, I'll be glad to work with you. Don't hesitate to let me know. I guess the main thing is to just let me know as soon as you're aware of it. The sooner the better. And if it's a true emergency, I would definitely work with you. Now, if it's just I ran out of time or forgot this or forgot something, then that's not a true emergency, and I might be a little less inclined to change those times. But I will work with you as much as I can, so don't panic about that. But I just wanted to make you aware of that information. Our site, as you'll see in a little bit later, is divided into different sections. We have a news section, contents, discussion, a Dropbox, and a class list. You also have email. Any email in the class, as much as possible, should be sent through the Momentum site. I realize everybody does also have a RadarNet email, which is outside of Momentum. And so you actually have 2 email addresses, if you weren't aware of that already, at Roane State. The main thing to remember, and this is important, and it confuses students a lot, and this is unless it's changed since I taught last, the email within Momentum is what we call like a closed system. In other words, to send me or anybody else in the class an email in Momentum, you have to be in Momentum yourself when you send the message. So the email system in Momentum only works for Momentum. So you can't send an email, say, to RadarNet or your own personal email, or forward a copy to your personal email outside of RadarNet. Outside of Momentum, while you're in Momentum. And likewise, you can't be outside of Momentum and send like me an email in the Momentum address. I won't receive it because it doesn't work. I think they do that for security purposes, to avoid hacking and viruses and things like that, and I think it's worked very well. But the catch is that it is a closed system. If you have a need to use it outside, okay, if you need something outside of Momentum, you can use the RadarNet, but you have to send it to, like if you're sending it to me, you would send it to my RadarNet address. So like I say, for that reason, we typically try to stick within Momentum when we're sending email. And I'll try to remember, as I've asked you to do, to preface anything I send you with the GIS-110 in the subject line, so you'll know it's about our class. Typically, when you log on to Momentum, you're going to want to check the news first. That's usually where it bounces you to. When you log on to the system, you'll see a list of classes that you are taking currently, and perhaps some of your past classes, I'm not sure. But you can then log into whichever current class you're interested in, and it will take you to the news page for that class. So the news page is where I try to post any important announcements. That's where you've seen the material from last week, where I told you, hey, I'm working on getting our bulk of our class material posted. I put that in the news section so you would find that easily. From the news section, I'll try to post an update every week at a minimum. A lot of times during the week I'll post updates. So it's a good idea to check our website at least a few times during the week, if not more, just in case anything has come up. And if anything urgent comes up during the week, I'll post it right there in the news section, and so you'll see it right away. And that list, I believe, as it builds throughout the semester, you can scroll down to see the older materials in that semester. So just wanted to point that out, and we'll look at Momentum here in a minute. Our textbooks for the class, hopefully everybody's got the books or you have them ordered. Sometimes we have problems with people getting them late, but I believe the bookstore has done a good job this time of trying to have them on hand. If they don't have them, or if you find them cheaper, I'm not opposed to anywhere you want to get your books. You can find books cheaper a lot of times online, places like Amazon.com and so forth. And I encourage you to get them with wherever you want to get them. Just make sure that you get the correct books. And I will let me pause this and I'll see if I can bounce over and show you what the books look like, because there's different editions of these books and you're going to want to make sure to get the right ones. Our first book, we have two books. That's required books for the class. The first one is Mastering ArcGIS by Mary Beth Price. It's the 5th edition. And most of you, or at least many of you, if you had the GIS-110 class last semester, you probably got this book in that class. So I tried to reuse this same book so that you would, to minimize the number of books you had to buy for the class. It is a little expensive, but I noticed Amazon has it for $80 new, and you can get them cheaper than that used in some places. But since it is a new book, just came out this year. It actually came out last year, but it's copyrighted for this year. But it's a relatively new book. I'm not sure how easy it'll be to find used copies. If you do get this book, it's nice to get the disc. It comes with a DVD or CD, I'm not sure, that has videos on it, some little video tutorial clips, and where she tries to demonstrate some of the basics of GIS. I'm using this book primarily because of the fact that a lot of people in the class have not had the 101 class yet. And for those of you that did, this being a different book than your 101 book that you used last semester, this I think will just reinforce that much more your fundamentals of working with the ArcGIS software as well as the basics of GIS. So this book will be our sort of either our refresher, depending on where you're coming to GIS from, or your introductory book for GIS. If you are new to the GIS realm, you might also want to consider getting the book. One of the books we used in the 101 class last semester would have been the Getting to Know ArcGIS Desktop for version 10. You will be using that book again this next fall, so it won't be a waste if you have the money and want to get another book that is, if you're new and haven't had the 101 class, this Mastering ArcGIS book I think will be a big help to you. But if you want a good hands-on exercise book to accompany this one, which this one has a lot of exercises in it as well, but a lot of people really like the Getting to Know ArcGIS book as well. So look at that if you are new. But this book we have as our first book here, and most of the exercises, though not all of them, but most of the exercises I have you do in this book, you won't have to turn in. They'll be kind of optional, based on your knowledge and working at your own pace, and it sort of will be a supplemental book that we'll use. The other book that we will use, and this will be new for most of you, is the GIS Tutorial 2 Spatial Analysis Workbook. Looks like Amazon has it for a greatly reduced price. This book comes with a data disk that accompanies the exercises, and you will need that. And it also comes with a 180-day trial copy of ArcGIS 10. So those of you that don't have the software from last semester, then you should get the software with this book. Now, if for some reason you don't, let me know and I will email you a copy of the student edition of the software. But it should be with this book when you get it, and you will need the data disk with this book, so make sure you have that, and make sure you get this edition of the book. There is a GIS tutorial with Roman numeral 2 that came out in 2009, and that's the book we used prior to this semester, but that was for ArcGIS 9. So this is the one you want for ArcGIS 10, and just make sure that you do get the right book. So I wanted you to see the picture so you kind of see what they look like to make sure you have the right books. And now let me switch back to our other view. This video has multiple parts to it. So I wanted to let you know that to save space, I've split this up into 2 or 3 parts. So depending on how long it takes us to get through, I think it will probably be about an hour and a half. So there might be 3 parts to it. But anyway, this part, you're at the end of this first part, so you'll need to open up the part 2 file for continuation.